running out of my prescription 10, 14 days before the doctor would refill them. And I would have to call my friends to get me by until the doctor would refill them for me.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? We got a great show lined up for you guys today. I know I've been missing in action for a little while. I got sort of a little sty, what they call it, a sty, on the lower part of my eye. Kind of been keeping me out of business for a little while. But we will continue to keep this motivation and this movement going. I got a great guest lined up for you guys today, an ex-Marine, an ex-MMA fighter. This guy has been all around the world. I've seen a lot of things. And I said he is an MMA fighter, so you know he know how to use his hands to fight. But the fight against addiction almost took him out the game, everybody. I got Tim Lodgen. He will be in the studio with us today to share his story. But this is what I would love for y'all to do, though. This is what I need for y'all to do. All of y'all are part of this together. I would need for y'all to hit that like button as soon as you come into the studio. Because the more times you hit the like button, the more times you let YouTube and the algorithm know that our videos are important. I need everybody to participate in this together, in this movement. And that is what we're doing today, everybody. I got a great show lined up for you guys today. We're going to get this show on the road. Like I said, are y'all ready? Let's go.
3, 2, 1.
Through the sober house. I'm like, drive me around. I'll pay you.
Hello and welcome to the Sober Gang Experience podcast with Mr. Showout TV. It's great to have you here with us today. I hope this podcast provides you with the inspiration to continue your journey towards a sober lifestyle. Please click the like and subscribe button before you start watching. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Mr. Showout TV. And this is the Sober Game Podcast, where we have great guest speakers from all around the world to share their stories. This is what I need for y'all to do, though. First of all, we need for y'all to hit that like button. And once again, it is very important. Y'all, everybody play an intricate role and a pivotal role in what we do on this show. When you hit the like button, then let the algorithm know that our videos are important. And that's what we're doing today, everybody. We want to just try to speak to everybody out there today. I got a great guest speaker in the building. Because y'all know y'all on the greatest show in the world. Hell yeah, welcome. Look, everybody, this is one of the things I love to do. I love to get on here and try to give y'all information that can add value to your life. When I say add value to your life, that means that the stories and the guest speakers that come on my show, they try to inform you and give you information. It's the information that you can take to somebody in your family, somebody that you love, or somebody that you know that is battling with addiction. Add value to your life. That's what my show is trying to do. I try to bring dedication and consistency on this channel. And today we're going to unwind with a great guest speaker. We're going to let him in the building right now. What's going on, Tim?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's a great Saturday morning. You know, we finna motivate some people out there. So everybody, we finna motivate y'all today. So Tim,
absolutely.
Was I pronouncing your name right?
Close. It's Lodgen.
Lodgen. Okay, everybody. There it is. Tim Lodgen. Tim Lodgen. So Tim, can you tell me a little bit about the story? A little bit how you where you're from?
I'm born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, on the East Coast. So, and I loved your intro, man. Yeah, I can use my hands, but you can't fight addiction with your hands.
Yes, sir. Because like I said, everybody, Tim has been around. I know you done seen the whole world, being an ex-Marine, being an ex-fighter. But, you know, the fight against addiction is sometimes, you know, undefeated, especially if we don't get the help that we need and the help and the services that we need.
Absolutely. It's the best accomplishment I've ever done in my entire life, and I have been I've done and seen a lot of things, but fighting the disease of addiction is the greatest accomplishment I have ever done in my entire life. And it is a continuous fight every single day.
Yes.
It's not something that you could just beat and you're done with it. It is something that you have to continuously fight on a daily, on the daily. But as long as you have a good support group, you have a good mindset, and you have great people that surround you, it can be done, and you can fight it every single day without a problem.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. What was your drug of choice?
So I dabbled in a little bit of everything, but the one that took me down the hardest was alcohol. And that's what began my addiction. I grew up in a household that had no alcohol in the home. My father was a police officer. My mother actually was a professional bodybuilder when I grew up. So there was no drugs, no alcohol in my immediate home. There was no beer in the refrigerator. There was no liquor in any cabinets. It wasn't in my immediate environment how I grew up. But at the age of 6 years old, my mother and father got a divorce. So I primarily grew up with my mother. She did an excellent job raising me. She made sure I was busy all the time. She had me active in many, many sports. I grew up playing baseball for 8 years. And then in my middle school, I started playing football. Did that for a few years. And I actually grew up, I almost became a professional skateboarder at one point in my life. I grew up with a gentleman named Brandon Novak from Jackass and CYK.
Yeah.
And Bucky Lasik, who lived down the street. We all grew up within a community of ourselves, and we all skateboarded together. And I kind of got away from the skateboarding, and I started boxing in my early high school years. And when I became a boxer, I took it to the next level. I became a Gold Gloves champion, and I came third place in Junior Olympics. But it's kind of funny because everything that I did, I took it to the next level. I wasn't just on the baseball team. I was the all-star pitcher. I wasn't just in football. I was the all-star safety and running back. When I started doing boxing, I wasn't just, the boxer around town. I became a Gold Gloves champion and went to the Junior Olympics. Skateboarding, I just didn't want to skateboard. I wanted to be, sponsored by, companies and be on skateboard teams and skate with professional skateboarders. And I really think that mentality is what made me a good addict, because I didn't just want to drink. I didn't just want to do drugs. I wanted to take it to the next level. It wasn't that I had a drinking problem. The problem was I couldn't drink enough. It wasn't that I had a drug problem. The problem was I couldn't do enough drugs. I just always had to take it to that next level. But the funny thing was, elementary, middle school, going up into high school, I never messed with drugs or alcohol. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. I was an athlete, and I actually looked down on people who even smoked cigarettes, much less drank alcohol or did drugs. It just wasn't in my makeup at that time. Going into high school, we had a freshman welcome to high school party. And that was the first time that I ever drank alcohol. And I got completely sick. And I remember my mom picking me up from my friend's house the next day, and she just looked at me and said, "Did you drink alcohol last night?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And she said, "Well, I'm not going to punish you, because it looks like the rest of your weekend is going to be ruined. And I hope you learn a lesson from this." Her punishment was, though, we were having a cookout that day, and she needed 50 ears of corn shucked for the cookout. And she says, "You're going to go into the basement and shuck all 50 ears of this corn. Here's the bag for the corn, and here's a bag for you to get sick in. And I hope you learn your lesson." And honestly, I did. I didn't want anything to do with alcohol anymore. But coming into my senior year of high school, I knew my grades were not good enough to get into college. And a lot of my friends were starting to get into drugs. And I honestly, at that time, didn't want anything to do with it. So I figured, you know what? All the men in my family have gone into the military. Let me sign up for the military, so that way I know when I graduate high school, I'm going to go into the military. I've got my future set, and that's what I'm going to do. So senior year comes around. I'm already signed up for the Marine Corps. And I get this idea of, I might as well have some fun this year, because next year, shit's going to get real. I'm going in the military, and I'm not going to be able to experience this when I get into the military. So let me start going to some parties. Let me start having some fun. So I start going to parties. I start drinking some alcohol. And for me, when I started to drink the alcohol, I noticed that my barrier came down, my wall came down. And I was the guy that was like, well, what else is at this party? Let me try some things, because next year I'm not going to be able to do this. So I started smoking pot. I started eating mushrooms. I started taking LSD. I started smoking PCP, ecstasy, whatever was at the party, pain pills, whatever was at the party, I wanted to try, because for me, it was a phase. Let me get it out of my system. That's what I told myself. Let me just get it out of my system and have some fun. Now, thank God, at that time where I grew up, heroin and cocaine were not a thing. They weren't around. I didn't know how to get it, and honestly, I wasn't even interested. But as far as the party drugs go, if it was around, I tried whatever was accessible at that party, and I had fun. I'm not going to say it wasn't, because it's fun until it's not.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I've had good memories that with my friends that I can remember, because there's a lot of stuff I don't remember.
You don't remember it. Like I used to tell my friends too, I remember nights when I don't remember nights.
Absolutely. And it's funny, now that I'm sober, and I run into some people from high school or my early 20s, and they tell me about stuff that I did. I'm like, I didn't do that.
I didn't do that.
They're like, oh, yes, you did. We remember vaguely. I'm like, man, I have no recollection of any of those events that ever happened in my life. But
I can piggyback off of what you said myself, because I was an alcoholic. I'm 39 years old. And I tell my viewers and the people that watches me, I was a late bloomer in the cocaine thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I started that as a late in my late 30s, and I'm 39 now. So I went from a person that would drink all day, go to sleep, to a person that was up all night thinking my girlfriend doing this and cheating, paranoid, and everything like that. So that what really took me over the edge, Tim. That would really just sit me down, and I had a scare one time. I had an emergency scare. When I had to go get rushed to the emergency room. That was an eye-opener. Addiction beat me up. It beat me down. It really took control over everything that I was loving in life. And Tim, I had came to that crossroad, man, and when I went to the hospital that night, and I had to have emergency surgery. I was in the hospital, in the ICU for a full week. That was an eye-opener. Mr. Tim, I got a few questions I would love to ask you, because I love to ask my guest speakers, these questions. They're very, very simple, Mr. Tim. What are some of your biggest challenges you have faced when trying to overcome your addiction?
The biggest challenges I've had to face is letting go of the past. Not allowing the past to destroy my future. And in my earliest sobriety, I believe that was my hardest hurdle to get over, because without letting go of your past, you're truly not able to start the healing process of becoming sober and learning to love yourself again. So the first couple months, I honestly had a hard time letting go of, but the piece of shit person that I used to be.
You can cuss, let it out.
Yeah, I wasn't a good person. I wasn't a good father. I wasn't a good son. I wasn't a good husband. Thank God I was never physically abusive to any of my family members, but I sure as hell was verbally abusive and mentally abusive. I said the nastiest, meanest things to the people that I loved the most. That was hard to get over, knowing that I said some pretty disgusting, nasty things to the people that I loved the most. But in learning the 12 steps, learning the traditions, learning to evolve into a better person, you must let go of the past. It's done. It's over with. It may not be a pretty sight to look back upon, and there may be some things that you honestly want to forget, but you can't forget. You can't forget where you came from, because then you'll be lost on where you're going. I have to always remember that person of who I was. I don't have to live there, and I don't have to bring it up, but I can't forget about it, because then I wouldn't be as grateful as I am of becoming the person that I have been in sobriety. The opportunities that I've been given to share my story and reach more people, to let them know that we can recover and we can ultimately become the person that we've always been meant to be.
Absolutely right. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Have you tried quitting your addiction before? And how did that outcome come?
You know, I did on several occasions. I came to a point, when I became a mixed martial arts fighter, I was 32 years old. I had just lost another job. As a matter of fact, from getting out of the Marine Corps at the age of 21 up into the age of 32, I had went through almost 40 employments. I couldn't hold a job. I just couldn't. And, there's no way it could have been the drugs and alcohol. That couldn't have been the problem. It was the employers or the employees, the people that I worked with. It was everybody else's fault but mine.
That's how I usually go.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to take accountability that it could be, the drugs and alcohol. And I also do have bipolar disorder. So, and it couldn't have been the medicines. The medicines just weren't working for me. There was something wrong with the doctors. They were giving me the wrong medicines, So no accountability whatsoever. It was everybody else, everything else, but it wasn't me. So at the age of 32, I decided, I had lost self-esteem. I had lost self-worth. I didn't want to look at the person in the mirror. I was drinking every single day, 12 to 18 beers. I was smoking pot. I was doing anything else I could get my hands on. So I decided I wanted to start mixed martial arts fighting. I missed the sports aspect. I missed the competitive aspect. I missed the self-accomplishment of going and training and seeing an outcome of what I was doing. So I started to fight. My wife allowed me 1 year to go to training and see if I could make something of it. And that 1 year ended up turning into 3 years as a professional fighter, fighting up and down the East Coast, fighting on television, getting sponsors, making some pretty decent money. Not a lot of money, but enough to pay the bills and to keep me going. And it gave me self-worth and value. It made me feel as if I was worth something, because I honestly really didn't feel I was worth anything at that time. It come to be at 35 years old, 3 years into my fighting career, and the last fight that I had, I ended up tearing my rotator cuff in 3 places. That next week after the fight, I had to go and see a doctor, and I had to have emergency surgery the next day to repair my rotator cuff. I couldn't even lift my arm. It was like useless. So I had emergency surgery, and that started a 4.5 year long pain pill prescription to Oxycontins that were prescribed to me from my doctor. This is 11 years ago. I could literally just go into my primary doctor and tell him I need a refill. He would refill it. I would go down to the bottom of the building, get it refilled, and have my prescription in my hand before I even left the building. And he would just refill them for me whenever I needed them. Now, like every good addict, I wasn't going through one every 4 hours like it says on the bottle. I was taking 2 or 3 to 4 every 4 hours. I was running out of my prescription 10, 14 days before the doctor would refill them, and I would have to call my friends to get me by until the doctor would refill them for me. I would come up with a good excuse. Oh, I dropped them in the toilet. Can you just give me an early refill? And they would do that every once in a while, but eventually they would catch on that I was taking more than prescribed. But I didn't have a problem getting the medicines either from the doctor or from the streets. Now, it came to a point where I got scared. I was like, man, I'm drinking 12 to 18 beers a day. I'm taking 8 to 12, 20 milligram oxys a day. I'm smoking about 1/8 to 1/4 of weed a day, just depending on what I could get my hands on. And I remember sitting on my bed and I was like, you know what? Even though I'm taking this and this is what I'm used to, this is what makes me feel normal, I might go to bed one night, drink too much alcohol or take too much pain pills, and my body is just going to shut down while I'm sleeping. And I may not wake up tomorrow morning. And it's funny how your addiction and your mental illness is cunning and baffling, and it twists your thoughts. And it tells me, well, you don't want to go to sleep and not wake up tomorrow morning. You might as well just do it now. So I reach over onto my dresser, and I open the pill bottle out, and I dump it into my hand. And I remember counting 18 oxys. And I take all 18 of them, and I go out into the living room, and I drink a 12-pack of beer within 45 minutes. I go then into my bedroom, and I lay on the bed, and I say, please, God, don't let me wake up. I can no longer live this way anymore. I don't know how to stop. I just want the pain to go away. And I pass out. I wake up that next day, the next evening, like 7, 8 o'clock at night. My first thought that popped in my head when my eyes opened was, holy shit, I didn't die. My second thought was immediately to get up and go into the bathroom and grab my refill that was sitting on the counter and dump the entire bottle down the toilet. I then looked myself in the mirror and I say, this is going to get bad, but I don't care how bad this gets. We are never taking pain medicine ever again. And for the next 10 days, I was the sickest I have ever been in my entire life. The whole gambit of coming off the opioid addiction, the throwing up, the sweats, the going to the bathroom, the chills, the fever, the insomnia, the night sweats, the panic attacks, the anxiety, everything that you can imagine coming off of a 4-year pain pill addiction. I went through in 10 days. I didn't leave the house. I could barely get up and get into the bathroom when I had to get sick, but I got through it. And every morning I would wake up and look myself in the mirror, in between the crying and throwing up, and told myself, remember this feeling, we're never doing this again. At the end of those 10 days, I had to get out of the house. I was in the house for 10 days, just completely getting sick. And honestly, after going to rehab and talking to the doctors, I didn't know this, but I could have had a seizure. I could have actually possibly lost my life coming off of those pain pill addiction, with going through all the withdrawals, which I didn't realize. But I made it through those 10 days. And I decided to get in my truck and go for a beautiful ride. We have this great, beautiful reservoir out here in Maryland that people walk their dogs, or they go hiking, or they go out there and you can go in the water and take a dip or go fishing. It's just a really beautiful reservoir out here in Maryland. And I'm driving through the park, and I'm crying, and I'm banging on my steering wheel, and I'm yelling up at the sky, why did I live? Why am I here? What's my purpose? If there is something so great and powerful that made me, why are you allowing me to suffer so bad? What did I do to make me go through this process of addiction and suffering? I honestly, at the time, had no faith that there was such thing as a God or a higher power. Because in my mind at that time, if you loved me so much, you would not allow me to suffer so bad. And I'm driving through the park, and I get to this tree where in 1996, my best friend at the age of 18, unfortunately lost control of his vehicle. He hit the tree and ended up losing his life at the age of 18. But his parents had set up this beautiful vigil on the tree. They hung a picture of him. There's a vase there where you could put flowers, and they wrapped a book in plastic that is still there to this day that you can go and take out of the plastic and write a note to him. It's kind of like where you can go and visit him. And I get out of my my truck, and I go up to the tree, and I'm crying. And I put my hand on the tree, and I'm like, Bill, I need your help. I don't know why I survived. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know my purpose. I don't believe of any of a higher power whatsoever. If there is something else out there besides me, if there is something else that exists, I need a sign. Please let me know that I am not alone and there is a reason here I'm on earth. And I get back in my truck and I go to leave the park. But I'm crying and I'm snotting, like I can barely drive. So I pull over on the side of the road to collect myself. But for some reason,
I don't pull over on the right-hand side of the road as I'm driving out. I pull over on the left side, facing oncoming traffic, and I park the wrong way. And I'm wiping my eyes, I'm blowing my nose, I'm getting myself together. And about 10 minutes goes by, and this car pulls up in front of me. And now he's on the right side of the road, so now I'm facing him. We're hood to hood, windshield to windshield. And I'm watching this gentleman get out of his vehicle, and he opens the back door and he grabs his dog. He's about to go walk where the water is and go take his dog for a nice little walk. And I'm watching him. And I'm like, man, this guy looks familiar. I know him from somewhere. I just can't place it. And all of a sudden it dawns on me. It was my best friend who lost his life in 1996. It was his father, whom I hadn't seen since 1996.
Wow.
This is March 16th, 2017, 21 years later. And I get out of my truck and I look at him and I say, Mr. Bill, is that you? And he turns around and looks at me and goes, Timmy, what's wrong? Why are you here? And I fall to the curb and I start crying. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I tried to take my own life 10 days ago. I don't know why I'm here. And he walks over to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder. And he looks at me and he says, Timmy, I'm not supposed to be here this morning. My bags are packed in my truck. I was supposed to leave at 6 a.m. this morning and head down to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach for a family reunion trip. My wife came to me in a dream last night and told me to come to this park at 10 a.m. I believe I was sent here to see you. And I looked at him and I said, Mr. Bill, I just stopped at Billy's tree and asked him for a sign that I wasn't alone, that there was something else out there. And he looked at me and goes, Timmy, don't worry. We're being watched out over. We're being protected. They are out there. And I get in my truck and I go to leave the park. And for about 10 minutes, I have this elation that, everything's going to be okay. They're watching out over us. There is something else out there spiritually that look out over all of us. And I'm feeling good for about 10 minutes. And then my addictive personality and my mental illness twist that into, you're absolutely right. You are being protected. Nothing is going to happen to you. So you don't have to stop living the way that you're living because you are being protected. And for the next 4 years of my life, I drank the most alcohol I've ever drank in my entire life. The pain pills did stop, but now I'm missing my little cocktail of pain pills, alcohol, and marijuana. So I decide to go ahead and start picking up those little Fireball miniatures that they sell at the counter when you go to pick up your beer.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time taking one, I drank it. It gave me that same warm blanket feeling that the opioids used to give me. And it was almost instantaneously. I got hot, I got warm, my feet tingled. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this, I did stay off the pain pills, but now I got a replacement for that.
You got a replacement, yeah.
Absolutely. And so this went on for 4 years. Now, the alcohol, the beer stopped working for me. I was drinking 12 to 18 beers a day, and I switched to the IPAs, the lagers, the special beers that were like 13, 15% of beer, and I was still drinking 12 to 8 of them. And it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. So I had the bright idea to just stop drinking beer altogether and just start picking up the miniatures. And it got to the point where the last year and a half of my alcoholism, I would get up at 6:30 in the morning and I would stop at the liquor store and pick up a sleeve of Fireball, which is 10 of them in a pack. I would drink all 10 of them by lunchtime, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I would be back at the nearest liquor store wherever I was working. I'm a carpenter, so we have different job sites. I would get to the nearest liquor store, pick up another 10. I would drink all 10 of those by the time I got off of work. And then I would hit the liquor store again on the way home and grab another 10. The last year and a half of my alcoholism, I was drinking anywhere from 25 to 30 Fireball miniatures every single day. Now, people ask me, why didn't I just get a big bottle? And the funny thing is, my addiction told me don't buy a big bottle, because then if I drank that whole thing and I saw that that bottle was empty,
It's a mind thing.
I would have to tell myself, maybe I have a drinking problem.
It's a mind thing.
Yeah, I drank that whole bottle today. Oh my God, holy shit, I'm an alcoholic.
Exactly.
Accountability.
Exactly. You
But those little miniatures, you know, you can drink them, throw them out the window while you're driving.
anywhere.
You can hide them from your wife. You can hide them from your family. Nobody's going to know exactly how much you're drinking. You know, it absolutely, it was a mind game with me. And one day I took one of those miniatures and measured how much was in it. One of those miniatures is 2.5 shots. So 2.5 times 25 and 30, I was drinking upward between 60 to 75, 80 shots of Fireball whiskey every single day. It got to a point where I got a brand new truck. I'm driving home from the liquor store and I hit something. I still to this day have no idea what I hit, but I remember walking in the front door and coming in, looking at my wife and said, I just hit something with my truck. I'm going to bed. I'm not dealing with this shit tonight. And I passed out in the bedroom. I wake up that next morning like a good blackout drunk. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm gonna run to the grocery store and get milk and bread and eggs. What else do we need for breakfast? And my wife just looks at me and says, how are you gonna do that? I was like, hey, my truck in the driveway, it's brand new. She said, Tim, go outside and look at your truck. And I go outside and I get around to the passenger side of my vehicle, and the side mirror is completely ripped off my truck, and the front passenger tire is hanging off the rim and it's like pushed up underneath the front bumper. And I'm just sitting there shaking my head looking at it. And she pops her head out the front door and she says, you don't know what you hit, do you? I said, I have no memory whatsoever. And she says, Tim, you could have killed yourself. You could have killed somebody else. I don't know what's going on with you, but you can't stay here anymore. I don't want you around our girls. You're going to have to pack your bags and leave and go figure this out, but I no longer want you in this house. And I called AAA. They came over and they put a spare tire on my truck. I packed my bags and I called my friend and I said, hey, you know, is it cool if I come over to your house for a couple of days? You know, let things blow over. She'll let me back in a couple of days once she gets over this and everything will be okay. I don't have to change it. So he says, sure, come on over, man. So I go over, I take my stuff, and we talk for about an hour. I tell him what's going on. And he's like, well, you know what, man, it's a Saturday night. You just got kicked out of your house. You wrecked your truck yesterday. We might as well go to the bar, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, now I'm justifying, I have a reason to go to the bar. My wife just kicked me out. I got nowhere to go. I'm sleeping on my buddy's couch.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to go drink my worries away.
Right.
So we go to the bar. I get completely hammered. And as I'm leaving the bar, less than like 16 hours later, I rear end somebody at a red light. I get out. I look at the guy. I'm like, man, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. Thank God this man had a tow hitch on the back of his truck.
Oh, it stopped.
His truck was completely, not even a scratch on his truck, but now the front of my bumper's all V'd in where it hit the tow hitch.
Gone.
And I look at him, I'm like, well, you're okay. Your truck's okay. I'm out of here, dude. And I slapped him on his back and I got on my truck and I took off. I knew if the cops came, I was going to jail for DUI and my truck was getting impounded and I wasn't trying to have all that. So I took off. I get to my buddy's house and I'm like, man, I can't stay here. I just want to be by myself and just figure out what the hell's going on, because I'm in a huge downward spiral and I can't catch a hold of it. So I grab my bags, I stop back at the liquor store and I grab 2 more sleeves of Fireball. And I go and I park my truck at one of those park and rides where you can park your vehicle for the day and grab a train or a bus and go to work, and then you pick your vehicle back up. And I park my truck for 48 hours. I turn off my phone. I didn't want to hear from nobody. I didn't want to be bothered. And for the next 48 hours, I sat in the back seat of my truck, drinking and passing out and throwing up, and drinking and passing out and throwing up. And every once in a while, I turn on a sad song and just beat myself up about all the things I've done over the last couple of years, how I couldn't keep a job, how I started arguments with my family, how I wasn't a good father, a good son, good husband, and just really putting it on myself to, I'm pretty much a piece of shit human being that can't get anything right, and I sure as hell can't get a control of my addiction. And I just sit there for 48 hours and just really put it on myself. Well, March 5th, 2021, at 7 after 10 in the morning, I decided to turn my phone on after 48 hours. 2 minutes later, after I turned my phone on, after having it off for 48 hours, the phone rings. And I look down and it just says Westchester, Pennsylvania. And my first thought was it was a bill collector or a scam call. You know, who the hell's calling me?
The police.
But I pick it up.
Yeah.
And there's a voice on the other line. And it was my childhood friend, Brandon Novak. And he says, Lodgen, what the fuck are you doing? And I said, I'm cold, I'm hungry, I'm drunk, and I'm tired. And he says, good, motherfucker, that's what you need. He said, I just got off the phone with your wife and your mom. I have a plane ticket set for you this evening at 8:30. I got you into Banyan Treatment Centers down West Palm Beach, Florida. I want you to get on that plane and go get your life back. And I'm kind of just on the other line, like, okay, man, yeah, whatever you say. I kind of just was agreeing with what he was talking about. So I honestly could just hang up the phone. And we hang up. Like 5 minutes later, it's goodbye. My wife calls me. Where have you been? People have been trying to contact you. They've been trying to find you. Everybody's worried sick. Please come home. I just talked to Brandon. We want you to come home and take a shower and pack your bags and try to eat something and maybe take a nap, because I had about 4 to 5 hours to where I had to be at the airport. So I go home, I take a shower, I pack my bags. I couldn't eat anything and I couldn't take a nap. Now I'm having anxiety. I'm having panic. I got to go to rehab. Are you serious? In Florida? How long am I going for? He didn't tell me. Is it a 30, a 60, 90-day program? Is it a 6-month program? Like, how did I allow my life to get so bad that I now have to go to a rehab center in Florida to get my life back? And I'm sitting in my bedroom and I'm like talking myself out of this. I'm like, I can't go. What about my job? Who's going to pay my truck payment? What about the kids? What about this? What about coming up with every excuse in my head on why I can't go to recovery and get my life back, right?
Hold on, Tim.
Yeah.
I know we finna get there, but I got a few questions that I need.
Absolutely.
I get you. Okay. How was your addiction affecting your life, relationships, and your daily activities?
To me, in the beginning, it wasn't affecting anything, right? Because that's what we tell ourselves.
Right.
I'm going to work. I'm paying the bills.
That's what
everything. Everything's good to go. But in reality, like I told you, I'm a carpenter. My work productivity had went down. The quality of my work went down. I was calling out of work. I was leaving early. The relationship with my kids was horrible. I would walk in the front door and my kids would scatter like cockroaches with the lights coming on, because they didn't know what dad was walking in the front door. Was I the happy, giddy, drunk, happy dad, let's go do something? Or was I the irritable, nasty dad that didn't want to hear from anybody and just wanted to be left alone? My relationship with my wife was almost zero. She wanted nothing to do with me because I always smelled like alcohol and was always short-tempered and very irritable. But to me, it was fine because nobody would bother me. I could drink and sit there and watch TV and live the life the way that I wanted to live without any accountability.
Next question. What are some of your triggers? What are some of the triggers or situations that make you want to use?
Today, in sobriety?
Or do
Zero.
you have any of those triggers?
Zero.
Perfect.
You know why? And I'll tell you why. Because I worked the program of recovery. There's a difference between just being a sober person that doesn't use drugs or drinking, or somebody that actually works a program of recovery. The program of recovery allows you to heal from past situations. It gives you a community of people that support you. And if you need to talk to somebody, I have found that the community of recovery is a very close-knit group of people. It really is. And they're there to support you no matter what. There's no judgment. There's no opinions. We all have a story. All of our stories may be different in comparison, but in the end result, we're all the same. Exactly. And we understand each other, and it's a beautiful community.
I say that all the time. You know, our stories may be different, but it all started at the same. It all starts with the same thing that when I started youth. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It starts there. So I got another question for you, Tim. What are some healthy coping mechanisms or activities you have found to help you out?
I go to the gym every single day. 7 days a week, I am at the gym. I'm actually competing for a bodybuilding show this summer, first time in my life. I've been able to focus. You know what? Going to the gym is more mental therapy for me than it is physical. The physical part is the outcome that you get, but going helps me with consistency and discipline and hard work. And it helps my self-esteem. It helps my endorphins, my dopamine. It gives me a sense of accomplishment that I go every day. Eating healthy. I don't eat the junk that I used to eat anymore. I eat very clean and healthy. I do have one Friday night. Every Friday night, I get my hot wings and my blue cheese, and I chow down on that. But that's it. But that's like a reward for staying on track all week long. Honestly, I like to meditate, have a nice quiet space just to kind of go over the week that I've had and try to process everything that I've gone through. And I get to go and I speak at rehabs, and I get to see the people that are new in recovery or new in sobriety. And it keeps me connected to my past, and it reminds me of where I was and how far I've come along, and how precious this gift of sobriety and recovery is.
Great answer. Great answer. What support system do you have in place to help you overcome your addiction?
The first thing I did when I got out of recovery, it's funny, in recovery they tell you do 90 meetings in 90 days, right? And the first thing I questioned was, well, I can't do 90 meetings in 90 days. How am I going to do that? And I remember the counselor looking at me and saying, did you drink and drug every day? I said, absolutely. How many hours a day? Probably half the day. So you're telling me you don't have an hour a day to go to a meeting and work on yourself? And I was like, okay, you got me. So I ended up finding a group that was only 15 minutes from my house. I actually did 98 meetings in 90 days. I was able to find a sponsor. I made that group my home group. I became friends with the people that were there. We gave each other's phone numbers, and I've been able to connect with a lot of people on the internet that have the same mindset. I changed my persons, places, and things. So from the people that I used to party with and hang out with and get in trouble with, I've changed that with like-minded individuals that live the life of recovery and sobriety, and their sole purpose is to reach one more person. Because if we reach one more person, that's one less person that we lose to this disease of addiction and mental illness.
That's what I love to say. I love to say that all the time. One thing about this show that I really love the most, Tim, is that, like you said, if I can just reach one person out there, one person can watch this episode with me and you, somebody can share it, I did my job.
100%.
And regardless of anything else, that's the reason I started this channel, Mr. Tim. I started this channel so we can have a place that we can come to. And you're more than welcome to come here anytime you want to. You reach out to me, we can set up a panel, we can have multiple speakers on here, and we can just have a good dialogue back and forth and talk about addiction. But that's what we want to do, everybody. I would love to try to give y'all valuable information. That's what I love my guest speakers to do. We try to give you valuable information that you can add value to your life. And if not your life, maybe you can add value to someone else's life that you know going through the situation. I have another question for you, Tim. What are some of your long-term goals and aspirations in life? And how do you see overcoming your addiction play a role in achieving those goals?
It plays the biggest role in my life. Okay, so I had a trouble when I was in addiction, knowing what my purpose in life was. I think that's why I drank and drugged, because I was so lost, not knowing exactly why I was here on earth. I've always had this feeling, even as a child, that I had a strong purpose on this planet. Like I was sent here to do something, and I never knew what that was. So it was like I was always searching, like playing the multiple sports, having different jobs, always trying to find what I'm supposed to be doing in life. It wasn't until I got sober that I realized I was being groomed and set up to live a life of recovery and to share my story with those who are still suffering. You know, those 27 years of addiction and mental illness, it didn't happen to me. It happened for me to become the person I was always meant to be. So what I'm doing now is I'm sharing as much as possible to as many people as possible. It has now allowed me to, speaking with you today is my 108th podcast interview.
Wow.
I have been featured in 7 recovery magazines. 2 weeks ago, I just became one of Baltimore, Maryland's most inspirational people of 2023, and I was featured in Voyage Baltimore magazine. It's the opportunities I've been given through recovery is more than I ever could imagine. I now work for 2 nonprofits that they send me to different states in the United States, and I speak at events, awareness events. I speak to veterans and first responders about PTSD, mental health and addiction, suicide prevention. It has allowed me to meet people from all over the world. You know, that's the great thing about these podcasts is I'm sitting here in Baltimore, Maryland. I could be talking to somebody in Australia or Germany.
Like you're doing right now. I'm in Arkansas, so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just an amazing power of being able to do this, and you can reach so many more people. Now, I love going to my meetings, right? But when you go to those meetings, it is the same 30, 40, 50 people that you see. This allows me to connect to way many people. And it's an amazing thing. So now I'm able to speak at rehabs and institutions and schools, reach the young generation of kids, and allow them to know what addiction ultimately does. It's got one purpose, and that is to take your life. There is no other purpose for addiction.
You're absolutely right. Out of everything you've been through, what have it taught you, and what have you learned?
How precious this life is. How we only have one shot at this. How to be grateful for everything that I have in my life. Not what I want, but everything that has been given to me already is all I need. I have a beautiful, loving family that stood by my side through all of the hell, and they're going to see the benefits of my recovery come back to them times 10. It's a beautiful transformation from an ugly, dark, scary place into a beautiful world full of light and hope and possibility that I'm allowed to give and show my family and the world that anything is possible. Thing always change. Everything always changes, and it's not always going to be bad. You're going to have life happens on life's terms.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's always going to happen, but you can change your perspective on how things happen and why they happen, and know that things are not a coincidence. They happen to you for a reason. You can either let it pull you down and drag you down and keep you down, or you take that experience and you grow from it and you learn from it and you become a better person.
Absolutely. Finish this sentence for me, Mr. Tim. My name is Tim, and I am
a warrior.
Awesome. All right, finish this sentence for me. Today, I will not
pick up a drink or drug.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to get you out of here on this last one, Mr. Tim, because I know you're a busy man. If anyone out there that's going through anything right now, that is battling anything right now, what advice can you give them?
Please know that you are not alone. Please know that what you're going through is not your pain and your pain alone. There are many of us that are out here that have gone through the same thing that you're going through. Please do not be embarrassed of your situation. Don't think that nobody's going to understand what you're going through. Don't think that you are burdening anybody with your problems. Don't be embarrassed. There are so many of us that know exactly what you're going through, and there are so many people out here that would like to help. If you need to speak to anybody, if you need a helping hand, you can always reach out to anybody in the recovery community. And if you find yourself in the dark with no way out, you can reach upon me. I will come and sit with you in that darkness, and we will both find that light together.
Awesome. This was a great interview. And like I said, everybody, I am Mr. Show Out TV. And this is the ex-Marine Olympic MMA fighter, Tim Lodgen. I get it right that time?
Yes, you did.
And everybody, he is Baltimore's finest, and he is a recovery advocate. This is what we are trying to do, everybody. I am creating a community of recovery warriors over here at the Sober Gang Experience Podcast. And I would love for you all to continue to rock out with me. And I will continue to bring y'all great guests like Mr. Tim. Thank you so much, Mr. Tim. I will be reaching out to you on the back end because I know you do a lot of speaking.
Yes.
I would love for you to introduce me to that too. So I would love
absolutely
to get my feet wet and that venture off into that also. So I will be communicating with you. And if there's anything that you need, Mr. Tim, don't hesitate to contact me.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having a platform for me to be able to reach one more person. What you're doing is absolutely needed and necessary. And thank you so much for actually having a podcast that goes over recovery and mental illness. And it's so needed now. What you're doing is amazing. Keep doing your thing, brother. It's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Tim. I will. Hey, we're going to do this again, man. Don't even worry about it. We're doing this again.
Absolutely, man. I got so much more to talk about, brother. We could talk for hours, man.
Got you. Say no more. Till next time, Tim.
Thank you. You have a great day, brother.
You too, brother.
Take care.
There y'all have it, everybody. Mr. Tim Lodgen, ex-Marine, ex-Olympic MMA fighter. This man has seen the world. This man got physical. He got physical hands and put some hands on somebody out there. But the fight against addiction almost took him out the game. That is what we're doing on the Sober Gang Experience Podcast, everybody. I am trying to bring guest speakers that can add value to your life. Value to your life. I don't want this podcast to be one of these little corny ass podcasts. I want this podcast to be real, uncut, raw. That's why I bring guest speakers on, so you all can get some of this value and information and share it to somebody else. If some of this information from this episode don't fit you today, it might fit somebody else that you can share this episode to. So that's what we love for you to do. Everybody play a pivotal role in what I am doing. I can't do this alone. Everybody plays a pivotal role. And I would love for you all, guys, to help me out in this journey. Help me out in this journey as well. So this is what we're doing, everybody. This is Mr. Show Out TV, and this is the Sober Gang Experience Podcast. I hope y'all enjoyed this awesome episode today from one of the greatest shows in the world. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I mean? You know what I mean? But yeah. Thank y'all, Mr. A. Once again, I would like to say thank you to Tim Lodgen for coming in and shedding light on everything he went through. And I really hope that somebody got something out of this episode today, because that is what I do it for. If we can inspire one person, we did our job today, everybody. And make sure y'all come back again. Don't make this the last time. Make sure you come back. You come back and watch more of my episodes. Email me. If you're going through something right now, I will have my email in the description box. If you would love to be a guest speaker on my show, email me and I will set up the broadcast. We're doing something better. We're doing something very special over here, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Till next time, y'all know how I do. Mr. Show Out TV. Yeah.
Welcome to Mr. Show Out TV Recovery and Addiction YouTube channel, where we hope to inspire those battling addiction. Please subscribe and like the channel. Make sure you click the notification bell to get notified whenever we broadcast. Thank you and enjoy the show. To support the channel, you can send donations to Cash App $Mr. Show Out TV. So please don't wait, subscribe now. Together we can help and give inspiration to millions of people.
What's up, everyone? It's Mr. Show Out TV, and thank you for choosing my channel to come to for great content about addiction and recovery-related topics. Let's continue to inspire those in addiction. Let's continue to make a difference. Let's continue to subscribe, everyone. Continue to subscribe. Continue to hit them like button. Let's get these likes up. And continue also, remind yourself to hit the notification bell. So when anytime I go live, you will be notified. Let's continue to inspire those in addiction. Thank you so much for choosing my platform to come to for great content. Continue to watch my videos and continue to share the message. Mr. Show Out TV.